We've all heard it. Go no contact and she'll come crawling back. But here's the harsh truth. Just cutting her off isn't the game changer you think it is. Sure, no contact stops the noise, but it won't shatter her ego or flip the power dynamics. In fact, most women expect it. They've seen it before, maybe even prepared for it. So let's break it down. No contact might stop the communication, but it doesn't truly break the emotional cycle. The real goal isn't petty revenge. It's not about showing her you've moved on or hoping for some desperate reconciliation. The goal is deeper than that. It's about becoming the man whose silence commands respect. The kind of man who uses that silence as a weapon so powerful that when she looks back, she regrets ever walking away. You want to be the one who doesn't need her to feel whole, and you certainly don't need her validation to know your worth. You want to make her see what she lost, not because you're begging her to come back, but because you've grown beyond her, beyond what she thought you were capable of. Now this is where Stoic philosophy comes in. Stoicism isn't about repressing emotions or pretending you're unaffected. It's about control. It's about learning to accept what you can't change and channeling your energy where it matters, into yourself. Stoicism teaches us to find strength in silence, to find power in action, and most importantly, to build a character that doesn't bend under pressure, but rather transforms from it. So what does it really mean to crush her ego without saying a word? It starts with recognizing that no contact isn't enough. It's about using that space not to wallow, not to wait for her to regret, but to rebuild, mentally, emotionally, and physically, until you're so unrecognizable that she'll regret ever leaving you in the first place. In the next steps, we're going to take this further. It's time to rethink the power of silence, how to master detachment, and how to truly make her regret walking away. Are you ready to make your silence speak louder than words ever could? Let's dive deeper. Part 1. Burning the illusion. We often tell ourselves we miss her, that we're grieving the loss of the woman who once stood by our side. But the truth is, what we're really grieving is not her, but the illusion of her, the idealized version we created in our minds. The woman you miss, the one you thought was perfect, never really existed. She was a projection, built from your hopes, dreams, and need to believe that love could fill the emptiness within you. Take a step back and think about it. Was she really who you thought she was? Or did you create a fantasy out of the moments that felt right? We often romanticize the good times, holding on to them as if they define her, when in reality, the person we miss is a shadow of what we wished for, not who she truly was. This is where the reality check comes in. Her actions were not driven by love or deep care for you. They were driven by ego. She left without explanation. She breadcrumbed you, holding on to just enough to keep you hooked. She moved on without a second thought, likely seeking someone else to fill the void. This isn't love. It's ego, her need to feel validated, needed, or desired. The key here is to let go of the illusion. Stop elevating her in your mind as if she's some perfect, irreplaceable being. When you keep her on a pedestal, you feed her ego and give her power over you. The real work begins when you see her for who she truly is, not the woman you wished she would be, but the person who made choices based on her own needs and self-interest. The lesson here is simple, but it's powerful. Stop loving potential. Stop romanticizing the chaos. Let go of the idea that things could have been different if only you had more time, more effort, more love to give. Focus on yourself. Focus on respecting your own boundaries, recognizing your own worth, and learning that self-respect is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. When you stop holding on to fantasies, you'll start seeing things clearly, and you'll finally free yourself from the illusion that has been holding you back. Part 2. Becoming unreachable. So you've already decided to go no contact. But here's the truth. Cutting off communication is just the bare minimum. It's easy. Anyone can disappear, block her, mute her, and walk away. But does that really change the power dynamic? Does it truly shake her ego? No, to really crush her ego, to make her question everything, you need to do more than just stop talking to her. You need to become unreachable, not just physically, but emotionally. Emotional detachment is where the real challenge lies. You've probably heard the saying, don't react, respond. This isn't about acting cold or distant just for the sake of being petty. It's about learning the strength to detach yourself emotionally from her actions. Think about it. How many times have you scrolled through her social media or gotten lost in the thoughts of what she's doing, who she's with, or why she hasn't reached out? Those little moments are what give her power over you. You're still letting her occupy space in your head, and with every thought you give her, you reinforce her control over your emotional state. But what if you stopped reacting? What if you didn't care who she was with or if she saw your posts? What if, instead of checking her stories, you focused on building your own life? Imagine how that shift would make her feel. Not because you're trying to make her jealous, but because you're no longer an emotional puppet on her strings. You're detached, you're calm, you're indifferent. Inner peace is where true power lies. And here's the kicker. The more emotionally distant you become, the more power you reclaim. That's what truly disturbs her. Women who are used to attention, who thrive on the emotional reactions they get, absolutely hate indifference. They crave any reaction from you, positive or negative. So when you refuse to give her any emotional response, you strip her of her power. Your indifference makes her feel like she's no longer in control, and that is exactly when the shift begins. The more you detach, the stronger you become. You stop checking her social media, stop asking mutual friends about her, and most importantly, you stop allowing her to live rent-free in your thoughts. This is your mental fortress. She can't breach it. And when she realizes she can't access you anymore, not physically, not emotionally, that's when doubt starts creeping into her mind. She starts wondering, what happened? Why isn't he reacting? Why doesn't he care anymore? And that question will gnaw at her until she realizes you've moved on, and you didn't need her to do it. This is how you truly take back control, not with actions, not with drama, but with the quiet strength of emotional detachment. You're not playing games. You're playing a higher game, one where you're in control of your emotions, your thoughts, and your life. And she's left trying to figure out why she can't reach you anymore. Part 3. Mastering the void silence is often seen as something to endure, a painful waiting room where you simply kill time. But here's the reality. Silence is transformation. Don't just survive it. Own it. This is your space to rebuild, to reconnect with yourself, to rediscover who you truly are outside of the relationship. It's not a void to be feared. It's a blank canvas for personal growth. Think about this for a moment. While she's out there distracting herself, seeking attention, or filling the emptiness with other people, you are using this time to evolve. This silence, this void, is not your enemy. It's your gym, your temple, your battlefield. In the stillness, you find your discipline, your clarity, and your focus. It's where you turn your pain into strength and your confusion into purpose. Every day in the silence, you're chiseling away at your old self, shedding the past, and building a new, better version of yourself. Stop waiting for her to notice your transformation. Stop obsessing over when she'll see what you've become. The truth is, the silence speaks louder than any words could ever. And the only person who needs to notice your growth is you, the unknown. Key here is to realize that the absence of validation is exactly what gives you the power. You no longer need her approval or recognition to feel worthy. You're building yourself not for her, not for anyone else, but for your own growth. And in that silence, you become unstoppable. Part 4. The Mirror Effect. This is where the real power kicks in. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to beg for closure. You don't need to prove anything to her. Let your absence speak for you. When you stop chasing, when you stop reacting, when you become the consequence of her actions instead of engaging with them, something extraordinary happens. You become a mirror, reflecting back at her every choice she's made. You're not doing this out of spite, but out of respect for yourself. Imagine this. You've spent weeks, maybe months, evolving in silence. You've stopped giving her attention, stopped responding to her games, stopped feeding into her drama. Now, your absence is deafening. It's a cold, calculated absence that forces her to confront the reality of her decisions. She has no longer any excuses to hide behind. The attention she once thrived on is gone. The drama that used to keep you hooked is dead. And now, what's left is the painful truth. She chose to leave, and in doing so, she lost someone who was capable of evolving, who didn't need her to change for the better, and that's when her ego begins to crumble. When she realizes you no longer need her to define your worth, that's when she'll start to second-guess everything. The woman who expected you to fold, to beg, to fall apart, is now faced with the man who transformed. And all of that, the self-doubt, the questioning, the regret. It hits her, not through a text, not through a post, but through the unavoidable consequence of her own actions. You're not chasing her validation anymore. You're living your truth. And that's the mirror she can't avoid. When she looks at you now, she sees what she lost, what she underestimated, and you didn't have to say a word. That's when her confidence starts to crack and her ego begins to shatter, because she was never ready to see you rise. And now she can't deny it. Part 5. Withdrawing all validation. The truth is, attention feeds the ego. Even when you think you're just going through the motions of moving on, liking her posts, commenting on her stories, or even sending a checking-in text, you're still giving her a form of validation. You're still showing her that she matters. And every time you do that, her ego grows stronger. Stop feeding her ego. It's time to withdraw every ounce of validation, no matter how subtle it may seem. Every like on her post, every message you send, every moment you react, those are all forms of attention that keep her feeling important, and they keep her emotionally tethered to you. The real power comes from emotional indifference, not from anger or revenge. You don't need to react with hostility or bitterness. Indifference is your true strength. When you pull away with indifference, not rage, it sends a much stronger message. You're not angry. You've simply moved on. You've transcended the emotional cycle you once had with her, instead of chasing her approval or desperately waiting for her to notice your progress. Focus on your growth quietly and steadily. The more you build yourself without looking for her acknowledgement, the more her ego starves. The less you give her, the more she starts questioning her own sense of worth. She'll realize that you no longer need her to feel validated, and that's when her own sense of self starts to falter. Part 6. Transmuting pain into power. Let's talk about pain for a moment. We all know how hard it is to go through heartbreak, to feel the sting of rejection, and to deal with the empty space left behind when someone you cared for walks away. But here's the thing. Pain is fuel. Instead of letting the pain break you, use it to build yourself. Think of your heartbreak as raw material, something that, if harnessed correctly, can be transformed into something unbreakable. You have the power to turn your pain into purpose. The Stoic man doesn't sit around wondering, why me? He doesn't waste time trying to understand why things went wrong. Instead, he asks, what now? This is the power of Stoicism. It's about accepting what you cannot change and channeling that energy into something productive. Your heartbreak is an opportunity to sharpen your focus, to dedicate yourself to discipline, health, success, and to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Through this transformation, you'll become a man who loves not because he needs love, but because he chooses to love. When you rise from the ashes of your past pain, you'll be stronger, more focused, and infinitely more attractive, not because of what you've lost, but because of what you've gained. And here's the twist. When you finally stand tall and fully embrace your new self, she'll regret underestimating you. She'll regret thinking that walking away was the end of your story. The truth is, you didn't break. You grew. You evolved. And that's a lesson far stronger than anything she could have taught you. By transmuting your pain into power, you become a man who cannot be broken. And that, my friend, is when her regret will hit harder than any text, any phone call, or any apology she might offer. Part 7. Becoming irreplaceable. The ultimate way to break her ego is to become the person she cannot replace. This isn't about petty revenge or trying to show her that someone else can't measure up to you. It's about transforming yourself into someone of incredible value, someone who is so rooted in their purpose, so strong in their vision, that you command respect without needing to say a word. You don't need to chase her attention anymore. Instead, focus on making yourself the person others admire. This is not about competing with anyone else. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, someone who doesn't need validation to feel powerful. When you become irreplaceable, people will feel your presence and they'll be drawn to your energy, even without you having to prove it. While she may move on and try to find someone else, none of them will compare to what you bring to the table. Your energy will be rare. It will be untouchable. Become that energy. Someone who leaves a lasting impression that no one can replicate. This is the secret to transcending the situation. You're not trying to make her jealous. You're just living your life at such a high level that she realizes she lost something special. You're not just another person she walked away from. You are the one she'll never forget. And when she sees the man you've become, not because you flaunted it, but because you transformed silently, she will realize she lost someone she'll never find again. Part 8. Building a new identity in silence. Here's the real key to lasting change. Transformation in silence. Don't look for applause or validation from anyone. Don't post every step of your journey on social media just to prove that you're moving forward. The most powerful transformations happen quietly, away from the eyes of others. Your growth should be felt, not announced. When you're evolving, don't do it for an audience. Do it for you. Real strength comes from evolving without needing to show off. It's easy to be distracted by wanting others to see your progress. But the Stoic approach teaches us that true strength is in becoming something, not performing to show the world. The more you grow, the less recognizable you become. That's the point. If you're still seeking her validation, you haven't evolved enough. Your rebirth should be so complete that when she sees you again, or hears about you, she won't even recognize the person you used to be. You're not the same person who once begged for attention or waited for her to come back. You've built something far more powerful than that. As you silently rebuild yourself, your presence will become magnetic in a way that no social media post or look at me now moment ever could. Your silence will scream louder than any action could, and when she eventually sees the new you, strong, focused, and unshakable, it won't matter whether she's watching or not. What matters is that you've moved on. You've become someone so much better, so much more than she ever imagined, and that's the rebirth she never saw coming. Your silence is your power. Keep building, keep growing. And when she realizes who you've become, you won't need to say a word. Your transformation will speak for itself. Part 9. Let her watch from afar. You don't need to block her. You don't need to go out of your way to make her jealous or send her cryptic messages. What you need is strategic distance. Allow her to witness your life from afar, but keep it out of her reach. Let her see your growth, your success, and your transformation, but don't let her think she can ever be a part of it again. This is where the power of indifference becomes crystal clear. Her ego thrives on attention, on knowing she still has some sort of hold over you. When she realizes she can't reach you anymore, emotionally, physically, or mentally, that's when her ego starts to eat itself alive. She'll see your progress, your change, and know deep down that she no longer belongs in your world. And that realization will be much harder to bear than anything you could have said or done. Don't worry about her seeing or not seeing your growth. Don't look for her validation. Just keep moving forward. Continue to build your life, your goals, your happiness, without needing anyone else to acknowledge it. And as you continue on your path, her recognition won't matter anymore, because the impact you make on your own life will be far louder than anything you could ever say to her. Part 10. Forgiveness for power, not for peace. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. It's not about letting someone off the hook or pretending that their actions didn't hurt. Forgiveness is about reclaiming your power. It's about choosing to stop allowing someone to control your emotions and thoughts. By forgiving her, you take back the control that once belonged to her and give it back to yourself. It's the final blow to her ego because nothing rattles someone more than seeing you unbothered. When you forgive, you're not saying that what she did was okay. You're not excusing her behavior. You're choosing to release the weight of anger, resentment, and hurt. You're freeing yourself from the past so you can step into the future with a clean slate. True detachment comes from forgiveness. When you forgive, you make the conscious decision to stop letting her live rent-free in your mind. The space she once occupied is now yours to fill with new, more productive thoughts and energy. And this isn't about getting closure from her. It's about giving closure to yourself. You've already moved on. You forgive because you've evolved, not because you need anything from her. Forgiveness is your strength, not your weakness. It's the final act of self-respect. The moment when you choose to rise above the past, not out of spite or revenge, but because you know you're better than the person who was hurt by her actions. Conclusion. So, what's the real move? It's becoming the man who doesn't need anyone's validation. It's choosing yourself first, always. True power lies in becoming untouchable, not because you build walls, but because you build an unshakable foundation within yourself. The most powerful thing you can do is stop letting someone else define your worth, your happiness, or your future. You live for yourself. You move forward with purpose. You build your life, and you don't look back. That's the true power of silence, of inner growth, and of standing firm in your own value. You don't need anyone else's approval to thrive. You're already enough. In the end, remember this. She didn't lose you when she walked away. She lost you the moment you stopped letting her define who you are. Keep moving forward, stay focused, and let your growth speak for itself. You rise not for revenge, but because you've chosen yourself. And that's the most powerful move you can ever make.